Yeah.
Good evening. Thank you for joining us this evening for the Board of Education business meeting. We have a quorum. I'd like to ask everybody to please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Could I please get an approval of the March meeting minutes?
I move approval of the minutes for March 26, 2024, and January 16, 2024, and January 23, 2024.
Second.
Moved and seconded on the question. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. Madam Clerk, any correspondence?
Yes. So resignation letters for the purpose of retirement were received from Lisa Ellis, teacher at Howell Road School, Bonnie Goldberg, special education teacher at James A. Deaver School, Jackie Shimenti, teacher at Howell Road School, Elizabeth Sweeney, reading teacher at Howell Road School, Maria Lourdes Tate, teacher at Howell Road School, and myself.
Yourself.
Thank you. Okay, I have nothing for the first comment period. We're going to move on to the report of the superintendent. Dr. LaRocque.
Good evening, everyone. Try not to be too close to my phone. Welcome. Oh, sorry. I clicked that many times. Oh, I'm sorry. Okay, good evening, everybody. Welcome to our presentation on the proposed budget for the 2024-2025 school year. I'm Dr. LaRocque. I'm the superintendent of schools. And this is Mr. Antoine, the Assistant Superintendent for Business and Human Resources. So tonight I'd like to start by talking a little bit about how robust our programs are in the district. And that is due to the commitment of the Board of Education and also the support of the community for all of the prior budgets that we've had in the past few years. So we currently are enrolling 2,072 students in grades pre-kindergarten through 6th grade. This year we have 140 students attending our pre-K program at the Howell Road School, which have 18 students in each class. Our average class size across the district is 21 students. This past summer we had a large enrollment, one of our largest enrollments for our summer rec program. Might I add, a very low-cost summer rec program. We've been able to sustain that low cost for the community over the past several years. We had 140 students in our summer academic enrichment program, 49 students in the special education extended school year, and 61 students in our E&L program. This year we have a record 55 clubs across all 4 buildings. We continue to have classroom aides in our pre-K and kindergarten rooms. We have a social worker and psychologist in each building, along with our district guidance counselor, our reading and math academic programs, and also our district coaches. So overall, our district focuses on pre-K, low class sizes, enriching summer programs, after-school programming, and of course supporting the needs of students and teachers across the district. In our special education programs, we have 338 students. In our E&L program, we have 166 students. 23% of our students in the district speak languages other than English, and 44% of students in the district are eligible for free and reduced lunch. So you can see that we have a wide diversity of student supports across the district. I'd love to point out that for transportation, we are serving over half of the students in our district. And this is unusual for elementary district to have. We offer more transportation than the state requires. And in addition to that, we have more transportation than the other two Valley Stream elementary districts. We are also having 4% of our students with walkback passes, which is a special program we have to increase ridership, and 164 students are receiving transportation to either private schools outside of the district or special education students that are outside of the district. As you've heard me talk about before, we are committed to educating the whole child in our school district, and one of the big ways we do that is through our special area programs, our ELA, not our ELA, our art, our music, our PE, and our library. Last year, we were excited to announce that we were a NAMM Best Community for Music Education. That's our first year getting that award. We have a multitude of students attending special exhibits and music programs like All County. Last Sunday, well, 2 Sundays ago, I was able to see the students' artwork at our All County art exhibit. We had 11 students participate in the NYSADA Art Portfolio Project, and 40 of our students were invited to show their work at the Long Island Children's Museum in a special exhibit. And you can see all the programs that our students are participating in for music, the Peak Festival, which is for 4th grade, Long Island String Festival, the All County divisions, the Day of Recorder, and also many of our students do solo, piano, vocal, and instrumental adjudication through the National Music Educators Association, and they are awarded at our commendation ceremony with those awards. We have 742 students that participate in our district in chorus, band, or orchestra, which is tremendous, and we're really proud of that whole child approach that we take to our education. So in summary, the things we focus on in the elementary district are our full-day pre-K, our special areas that I just talked about. We have Gifted and Talented program, the clubs, our Innovation Lab program for STEAM, which is pre-K through 6. We are a one-to-one district for all of our grades. We have a strong focus on literacy. We work with our district team of social workers, psychologists, and the guidance counselor for focusing on wellness and careers. And our special education program is really second to none in terms of being inclusive. And what I want, if you're on our website when we have this posted tomorrow, I would encourage you to go to the Your Tax Dollars at Work page of our district website, where you can see how your tax dollars have been spent over the past 5 years, all the projects that we've done that will reflect what I just spoke about in the past several slides. So I'd like to talk a little bit about challenges to the budget and our budget constraints. So you may have heard, you may have been hearing on the news recently, many school districts struggling with their budget, cuts to staffing, cuts to programs, and we're very happy to report in our budget presentation that we will not have to do any of that in our budget. And that has been for several reasons that some of these districts have had, are having fiscal challenges. One of them is that the governor removed in her proposed budget what's called a hold harmless agreement, so some districts are experiencing a loss of state aid. While we did have a very small amount of loss of state aid overall, we are still strong in our state aid projections. We have talked about at this presentation in the past, especially last year, the ongoing inflationary costs of transportation. That is one of our highest ticket items that keeps going up by hundreds of thousands of dollars every year. So we look forward, the administration looks forward to working with the board on considering transportation alternatives and exploring options for lowering that in future budgets. We've experienced some enrollment fluctuations recently, particularly at the Willow Road School. There has been a small increase at the Willow Road School, which is creating more sections. When we create more sections, that's more teachers. That's a big driver of the budget, so that was a challenge this year. We've been very focused on securing our schools, so we have been focusing on making sure that we can make our schools as safe as possible. We always have unfunded mandates. One of the ones we're working on this year is the computer-based testing. We have to do computer testing. The state does not give us more money. We just have to accommodate that. We know that our facilities and grounds need some improvements. We have a lot of student needs. And finally, what I'd like to talk about is, of all the districts on Long Island, when we did, Mr. Antoine did, the tax levy calculation this year, our district has the least ability to raise taxes of any district on not just Nassau County, but all of Long Island. So our tax cap levy calculation was 0.78, and that's the smallest possible one on all of Long Island. That doesn't mean that there aren't going to be some school districts who have a lower tax levy, but our calculation of what was allowable is the smallest. So that limits our ability to add to the budget through taxpayers, which is not necessarily a bad thing, but it is still a constraint on the budget. We also have a lot of competing priorities. We would love, if we talk to parents, and when we do talk to parents in the community, people would love to have more clubs. Even though we have great clubs, can we have more clubs? People want our schools to be as safe as possible. What else can we do to make sure our schools are safe? What can we do to improve our playgrounds across the district? So when we do the budget, it's kind of a puzzle where we take into account everything that we hear from constituents across the district, and then we have to make it fit into the tax levy, what state aid we get, and to make sure that we can provide the community with what they expect. So even with those challenges, we were able to once again meet our budget goals. So for our budget goals, we want to maintain our comprehensive programs. We want to continue to improve our facilities. We want to have our strong special ed programs, literacy programs. We want to make sure the community understands the process. We want safe schools, and we want to always be looking to mitigate the external economic influences. So we're very happy to announce, Mr. Antoine and I, that we've been able to meet our goals. We have no cuts in the budget, and we do have some nice wins in addition to the district's programs, and we've been able to continue to keep taxes low and use our state funding effectively. So, the part you've all been waiting for, what's new in this year's budget? So even despite those limitations, we are going to once again ensure that our students have the mandated special education services that they need and deserve. We're going to do this by increasing several speech teachers, several teaching assistants, and also adding 1.5 teachers for our inclusive co-taught program. Another thing that we know is an increasing need of our students is to care for their well-being. So right now we do have 1 psychologist in every building, 1 social worker in every building, and 1 district guidance counselor. We have a part-time psychologist in addition to the 1 per building. So this year in the budget, we are proposing to add a district social worker to make the psychologist full-time. So this way we could have a district mental health team that would be made up of the guidance counselor, a social worker, and a full-time psychologist. So they would be able to serve all 4 of the schools, in addition to the 1 social worker and the 1 psychologist already in the budget. So to address the students' mental health needs, we're adding those positions. We have a regular replacement cycle for our 4 main curriculum programs, the ELA, Math, Science, and Social Studies. For next year, we are looking at an update really a revision to the science program. With the transition in our assistant superintendent, we're going to kind of do a small correction on schedule with our science, but leave it to our new assistant superintendent to take the reins and to spend more time looking into our science program. And at the same time, we're going to renew our math program at K1 and 2, which is up for renewal. It's important that we keep those curriculum programs up to date for our students and our teachers to make sure that we're meeting the latest New York State standards and the research-based practices. I'm also very, very excited to say that once again, well, if the budget passes, we will not have a lottery for the pre-kindergarten program. So we had over 160 applicants for the pre-K program, and we are going to add one pre-K class in this budget. That is outside of the grant, and I know I've talked about this for the past few years. The pre-K program is mostly funded through state and federal grants. However, the entirety of the program is not covered by those funds. So the general fund does contribute to the pre-K program, and it is important to know that the pre-K program would not be able to run without the general fund as well as the grant funds. So we will have seats for everyone next year by adding an additional pre-K to have 9 pre-K classes at Howell Road. We are also going to continue our smart board replacements. Those will be in some of the classrooms and library. And again, in order to continue our one-to-one initiative, we will replace the second grade Chromebooks. Every second grader gets a new Chromebook, and then that goes with them through their years. So that second grade is always the grade that you'll see in the budget for the replacement cycle. In addition to align our resources to one of our biggest goals, which is safety and security in the district, I'm really excited to say that we've been able to incorporate having Mr. Napolitano, our Director of Security, move from a 3-day-a-week person to a full-time person for next year in this budget. He has been invaluable for guiding the administration and the board in moving security work forward. And the benefit of that is also that we contract for those services through Eastern Suffolk BOCES, so the district does get aid back for that position. So that's really going to be a big win for the district. At Mr. Napolitano's recommendation, we're going to move our security guards from a fully external consultant model to have a hybrid model for next year. So we're moving the security guards into becoming district employees. So these will be directly hired through the district and directly supervised by Mr. Napolitano as the Director of Security. You may have also heard that a lot of districts in the news have been talking about fiscal cliff when it comes to school budgets because the federal money related to COVID aid is expiring. It will expire in September of 2024. And we are, again, proud that in our district, Mr. Antoine and I very carefully did not create a fiscal cliff for our district because we did not purchase things that would go on forever. And so what that means is that where other districts created new positions with those funds and now they can't sustain those positions, we did not do that, so we are not in the same boat. The thing that will be something that our community has gotten used to is summer programming and all the extra clubs that we've been doing. So in this budget, to mitigate that loss of funds from the federal government, we've added funding in all 4 buildings for extra clubs for next year. So we're hoping that that will be a step in the right direction, and then the plan would be to keep increasing that code a little bit over time till we got to the point where we were at this year with those 55 clubs. So I can't promise 55 clubs next year, but we are moving in the direction to build the clubs up to what we were able to do with those extra COVID funds. And the other thing that we want to do over the next few years is expand our assembly budget. We know from talking to the kids that some of their best memories at school come from field trips, assemblies, and all the special programming that we do. So we've added a little bit on every code to each building to increase the number of assemblies that the principals can bring into the schools. But I'd also like to give a shout out to the PTAs, because a lot of times our PTAs support the assemblies that we have for the kids. So we want to support the PTA, and we want to make sure we have as many assemblies as possible. And the budget does maintain similar class sizes that we have now, the same class sizes that we have now. Of course, across the grades, your child may fluctuate in their class size. That doesn't mean that they're going to exactly have the same class size as the one that they're in now. Okay. And our capital projects. So this year we have $750,000 in capital projects in the budget. That includes $100,000 in a capital outlay, which, as I will remind you, means that we put the $100,000 out, and then we get that money back at our building aid ratio the following year. So it's a win-win for the district to get funding back. We are going to propose that we work on the Howell Road Library. We did the Willow and Wheeler libraries 2 years ago, so the plan would be for this year to start the Howell Road Library, and then we would move to the Deaver Library in our budget proposal for next year. That will take up the $100,000 capital outlay, but it also will likely require a portion of the $650,000. Another project that we want to do with the $650,000 is to upgrade the wing in the back of Deaver, new flooring, new lighting, and new, like a treatment to the wall tile to make that hallway look a little bit more consistent, and so that the floor doesn't crunch under you when you're walking on it. That's a small hallway, and that will have a renovation. And then for Willow and Wheeler, we need to do some necessary roof repairs. So we've had some problems in both those areas. We will do the roof repairs. It's not as exciting as some of the other projects, but it's really important because we have had to impact some of the learning spaces under those roofs when we have leaks, and we want to avoid that. So necessary repairs to Willow and Wheeler roofs, a little bit of a renovation in the kindergarten wing down here at Deaver, and some upgrades to the Howell Library. So there's something in it for everybody this year. One per building. Okay. And my last slide is to talk about a proposition. So the first proposition on the ballot when you go to vote will be the budget itself. So that will be what Mr. Antoine's going to talk about next, the $67 million proposed budget for 24-25. The second proposition on the ballot will be to spend $700,000 from our capital reserve. Our capital reserve currently has $3.1 million in it, and we are proposing to spend $700,000 for security items. So there are really three categories to this $700,000 expenditure. The first is to make some enhancements to cybersecurity relating to our servers and our server rooms. The other thing to do is security film. So this would be treating glass in the district so that it would prevent entry. And the last category would be some security technology upgrades, things like cameras, and other technologies that would enhance security across the district. And the key part of the proposition is that this is at no additional charge to taxpayers. So this money is already set aside in a capital reserve, which was voter approved. The creation of the reserve was voter approved, and now we have to ask the voters to spend the funds in the capital reserve, and that is for very specific purposes. This is one of the allowable purposes to spend on. So again, we're asking to spend $700,000, but that does not affect your taxes. It's at no additional cost to taxpayers.
taking any questions?
At the end. We're not done.
Oh.
Thank you, Dr. LaRocca. Again, I'm Gerard Antoine, Assistant Superintendent of Business, and I'll continue the presentation and talk about the budget. So the proposed budget for the 2024-2025 school year is $67,396,074. That's a $3.6 million increase, or a 5.62% increase over this current year's budget. In the proposed budget, we're going to receive an increase in state aid, and as Dr. LaRocca had mentioned, we're going to get a decent increase in our building aid. The building aid increase is good. The problem with the building aid increase is that building aid acts as a deduct in terms of our tax cap. So when we calculated the tax cap, it was calculated at 0.78 because of the increase in building aid. It's still good that we're receiving the money, but it restricts our ability to increase taxes, but it's good for the homeowners. And as long as we're still able to provide the quality instruction that that everything that Dr. LaRocca mentioned, it's still going to be good for next year. So, and we are going to stay within our tax cap. So I'll talk about the revenues. As I mentioned, the revenue state aid is going to increase by 13.51% next year. That's a decent increase in our foundation aid, but a big increase in our building aid, and that's the 13.51%. Our refund from BOCES, our Medicaid, STAC revenue, and other revenue, which is the revenue that we receive from our summer rec programs, it's going to be flat. It's projected to be flat year over year. We do anticipate receiving an increase in our pilots. The one pilot that we do have is 6.1%, and everyone's experiencing it. Hopefully everybody is. They're getting more money in the bank. We are too. We're getting more money in interest in the bank. So that's going to increase by 60% next year. Tax levy increases by 0.75%. To offset the budget, we're using slightly less reserves, so it's a reduction of 3.6%, and revenues equal expenses, $67,396,074. So the budget is made up of three components. We have a program component, we have a capital component, and an administrative component. The program component is made up of teaching and learning expenses. Those are the expenses that are directly related to educating our students. So we're right in the classroom, making sure we provide high-quality curriculum instruction. Admin component, 10% of the budget. That's Board of Education expenses, central admin, legal, finance, public info, and supervision of curriculum instruction. And that leaves 14% in terms of capital, which is our facilities, maintenance, and our debt service. Now this just shows you how the budget breaks out in terms of our pie chart. And we are typical on the island. Most school districts' budgets are made up of salaries and benefits. That's ours. 77% of our budget is composed of salaries and benefits, and that's where we like it to be because we want to make sure that we hire the right teachers, the right support staff, the right administrators. So 77%, it's about 75 to 80% of a school district's budget is made up between salaries and benefits. And then you have transportation, district support, operations and maintenance, and our debt services. What we try to do every year is we try to explain the increase. So the budget-to-budget increase is $3.6 million. So this just shows you how that increase, what makes up the increase. So we have our contractual obligations. That's going to increase by $1.7 million. That's all of the collective bargaining agreements that we have to honor. So $1.7 million. Dr. LaRocca talked about the security, $315,000. Small increase in terms of equipment, supplies and materials, $144,000. There was a trend up until this year where we were special education expenses was going up a lot, but the next year it's only going to go up by about $100,000. But again, as Dr. LaRocca mentioned, transportation and that transportation is one of the biggest areas in terms of our increase. We are just seeing it time and time again that whenever there's a contract up for renewal, it's not renewed, we have to put it up for bid, and there's a huge increase. So we're going to look into, that's an area of opportunity where we can look into see what can we do to reduce those expenses. And health insurance, well, benefits and insurance, they just keep increasing every year, $613,000 increase proposed for next year. Now this slide is intended to drill down further, just so you can see what makes up those expenses, but they're kind of similar to the previous slide. So you have security, special education expenses. The private school transportation in particular is what's driving the increase for next year, and that's $510,000, and health insurance, again, going up. These are the reserves that we have. We have 7 reserves, and I just want to highlight one in particular, the capital reserve. We have a proposal, proposition number 2, which is to expend $700,000 from the capital reserve for security enhancement. So, as Dr. LaRocca mentioned, the capital reserve requires voter approval to establish and voter approval to spend from. So, we have to talk about this. We hope that it doesn't happen, but if the school district's budget fails on the first shot, there's choices. You can put up the same budget for revote, you can change the budget and put it up for revote, or just go directly to contingency. But if it fails again, you have to adopt a contingency budget. If we adopt a contingency budget for next year, our budget for the 24-25 school year would be $65,747,427. That's a $1.6 million decrease from the proposed budget, a 2.45% decrease. And what does that mean? Under contingency, we're not allowed to make equipment purchases. We're not allowed to buy pupil instructional supplies such as pencils, paper, and basic art supplies. We're not allowed to pay stipends to teachers for after-school clubs. We're not allowed to have the expenses to, any expense that's related to the public use of the school building is not allowed under the contingency budget. The transfer to capital, so the projects that Dr. LaRocca mentioned, we would not be able to do that if we go to contingency. Not allowed to have any new BOCES services, and we are restricted from hiring aides for non-instructional staff members unless that aide is required as part of the student's IDP.
Okay, so just to recap the things that we have that are new in the budget for next year. Increased special ed programming, a district social worker so that we can have that district mental health team, security guards who are employed by the district, along with changing the security director from part-time to full-time, 9 classes of pre-K, the capital projects, which is the Howell Library, the Deaver Kindergarten Wing, and the roofs at Willow and Wheeler, renewing our science and math curriculums, replacing our Chromebooks, several new smart boards, and our enhancements to our clubs and assemblies. So all of that for the 0.75, less than 1% raise in the tax levy, within the tax cap. And we've been able to take those budget priorities that we have heard from the community, having pre-K for everyone, continuing our inclusive special education, enhancing our safety and security, maintaining our high-quality instructional programs, having mental health and wellness for our students, and enhancing our extracurricular offerings, all while keeping taxes low in the district. So the budget vote is Tuesday, May 21st, from 6 a.m. to 9 p.m. at all 4 schools. There's information available on the district website on the budget information page. We also would like to point out that you can, we will have this presentation along with a line-by-line budget on the district website. You can also access that through tonight's Board of Education agenda. If you go to the Board of Education page and you click on the agenda, you'll see on this superintendent's report both of those handouts. We'll also be distributing it through Parent Square in the next day or so that everyone has that. What we did this year, can I just grab a copy? What what we did this year was create a line-by-line budget that included notes. So for every page, you will see a series of notes that goes with the page, and it corresponds by letter. So if this is the line-by-line budget A, you'll see line-by-line budget A explanation. So we hope that this makes the line-by-line budget a little bit easier to read. And of course, Mr. Antoine and I are happy to answer any questions that the community has. So you can email us, you can call either of our offices. We want to make sure that everyone makes an informed decision on budget vote day, so please do not hesitate to reach out to us to get your questions answered. And as usual, we'll be doing our road show over the next several months. We'll be at faculty meetings, we'll be at the buildings, we'll also be at the PTA meetings, where you can come, hear the same presentation again, but ask questions at those meetings. We're gonna also be, I think, at the Morton Civic Association. A couple of the civic groups will be at as well. If you're not sure where we're gonna be, again, just send us an email, contact us, and we will let you know. But you can watch the live stream of the budget presentation, you can download the budget presentation, you can download the line by line, and we encourage you to visit the Tax Dollars at Work webpage as well. Questions?
Thank you, Dr. LaRocca. Okay, I'm going to open up the floor to my fellow board members for questions. Go ahead, Trustee Bennett.
So I have several questions. At the end, Dr. LaRocca, you mentioned in connection to the proposition of using the capital funds, you said something that, the public would not have to worry about, taxes being increased, which you're getting out of the capital reserve. Well, those monies work. That's tax money that was passed from years prior, that was never spent. So, yeah, the taxpayers are still paying for it. It's not like they're not paying for it.
That's why I specifically said no additional cost to taxpayers.
Right, so those monies could have been used to, pay down the debt, or, I know you can't refund the money, but in any event, you mentioned that the Deaver kindergarten wing, there'll be renovations, and you mentioned tiles. Are you saying that the green tiles will be removed on the wing? I'm just trying to get clarity on that.
No, not the green tiles.
Okay.
The green tiles are not in the kindergarten wing.
Okay.
They're different. The green tiles are the glass block tiles. These are tiles that go from floor to ceiling.
Excellent. Thank you for clearing that up.
Yeah. And there'll probably be a treatment, they're not going to be taken down.
Excellent. The security director you mentioned, and that we're going to be changing, Mr. Napolitano will be getting staff of guards. So how does that work? We're not going to be hiring private guards. We're going to be getting them on the payroll. How many? There's 4 schools. How many guards are we looking at paying? And what kind of salary range are we talking about?
So we're going to have 1 per building, and they will be under the civil service titles, which we have discussed.
Right, this was discussed, but with the board.
Well, I'm just trying to get some more clarity, then maybe you can refresh me, because I don't remember the salary range for these guards.
What did we put in the budget?
What we did was we estimated it to be $25,000 each, and it could go anywhere to no, I'm sorry, $25 an hour, $25 an hour, $25 an hour to 30 somewhere there. That's like the range.
Okay.
25 to 30,000.
I only have 2 more questions.
So the way,
Oh, sorry.
so I just want to expand. So we currently pay the consultant firm for that employee. So we had to just make up the cost of hiring them ourselves, because now we'll be taking on the benefits and the benefits portion by hiring themselves. Internally versus externally, but it's not going to be entirely internal, it's going to be a hybrid model. So we had discussed that we were going to move from the fully consultant model to a hybrid model, and then reevaluate that hybrid model, and then make a decision.
I vividly remember that part.
Yeah.
I only have 2 more questions. You said earlier on, Dr. LaRocca, our district, we provide transportation for 53% of the students. But that doesn't mean 53% of the students are actually being transported by buses, right?
That's eligible ridership.
Right, so we're providing if they're, right, so we're not physically transporting over 1,000 children to the schools. It's far less than that. It's just that 53% are eligible to take the bus.
Eligible ridership.
All right, I got you. All right, so that threw me a little bit. All right, thank you. The last question I have, the transportation, the pupil transportation costs, you're asking for $734,000 more from last year. That's a 17% increase. How did you come up with that number? Because like the diesel costs from last year to this year, it's down 9% diesel. So
It's-
private vendors,
It's the
they're-
contracts, it's all contracted, so when it goes to bid, you put it out, and then they tell you what the price is gonna be. So they're presenting their costs, it could include gas, it could cost employee, dispatcher, it could be anything, new buses, but that's on the transportation company, not on us. We just say, we put out an RFP that says we need to move this kid from here to here, you propose how much it's gonna cost.
So you sent those request for quotes out already?
Not yet. Not yet.
We do that through the consortium, the Southwest Quadrant Consortium.
But so how do you know it asks for 734,000?
So basically there are some contracts that are not going to be renewed. There are some contracts that are going to be renewed at CPI, so it's like an estimate, it's like a mix between the two. The ones that we know of, and then an estimate of what we expect for next year.
So this is just an estimation. It could be very low.
Everything's an estimate. I would not know the exact number for next year.
All right, thank you.
Any other questions?
Madam President, I just want to clarify, isn't the whole budget an estimate?
Everything's an estimate.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Dr. LaRocca, thank you.
Thank you
Mr.
so much, that concludes the superintendent's report.
Moving on to the Ed Committee, Vice President Cavalieri.
I move item 1, appointment of Assistant Superintendent for Curriculum and Instruction.
Second.
We're excited.
Quick.
Here resolved, the Board of Education hereby appoints Lorraine Gravis to the position of Assistant Superintendent for Curriculum and Instruction at the annual salary listed in the motion, effective July 1st, 2024, for a probationary period of 4 years in Assistant Superintendent Curriculum Instruction tenure area, and it is further resolved, the Board of Education hereby approves the attached employment agreement and authorizes the Board President to execute the same. Now you
Moved and seconded on the question. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. I'd like to welcome Dr. Mattis to the Valley Stream 13 family. Thanks for being here tonight. Thank you. Our pleasure. Continuing on.
I move the remainder education as a consent, E, 1 through 13, which ends on page 5.
Second.
Moved and seconded on the question.
Madam President,
Yes, Trustee Liang.
I want to thank our district clerk. Oh, she's not on this one. Okay, I know you were on this one.
You are
I was
real quick
looking
tonight.
for it. I'm quick today. I'm just like,
Just too quick.
I'm too quick. But anyway, I still want to say thank you for your service, for helping us in everything that you do. You're fabulous. We'll miss you.
I'd like to thank the other retirees that are on the Education Committee consents, and I welcome everyone to come back to the June meeting where we will celebrate everyone at that time.
Moved and seconded. On the question. No more questions? No. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Just also want to include that the Education Committee meeting met with our interim Assistant Superintendent of Curriculum and Instruction, and we got a nice overview of where the district stands with all the test results in a cohort and individual curriculum. It was a very insightful meeting. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Education.
Thank you, Vice President. Business Committee meeting, Business Committee, Trustee Farrell. Did you have a meeting this month?
Good evening, everyone. I move the item number 1, the 2024-25 proposed budget. Proposition number 1, for the people viewing at home, I will be reading the full propositions. Proposition 1, that the Board of Education adopts the 2024-2025 proposed budget in the amount of $67,396,074, and that the budget be presented to the voters of the district, and that the district clerk be directed to place this budget in the above amount on the ballot in accordance with previous instructions.
Second.
Moved and seconded. On the question. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
I move item number 2, the capital reserve expenditure, proposition number 2. Resolved that upon the recommendation of the superintendent of schools, the Board of Education hereby authorizes the placement of a proposition to expend monies from the district's capital reserve fund established on May 15, 2018 at the annual budget vote and election on May 21st, 2024, and directs the district clerk to place said proposition, in the annual notice of said vote and election. Shall the Board of Education of the Valley Stream Union Free School District 13 be authorized to expend from the Capital Reserve Fund, which was established on May 15, 2018, pursuant to Section 3651 of the Education Law, for the following capital improvement project of acquisition of security equipment, furnishings, machinery, and apparatus, and the installation of such security equipment at the district's facilities and sites, including security film and door replacements, cybersecurity, technology, security camera replacements, and other security technologies and enhancements at the district's facilities and sites in the approximate amount of $700,000, and other work required in connection therewith, and to expend from the reserved funds therefore, including preliminary costs and costs incidental thereto, an amount not to exceed the estimated total cost of $700,000.
Second.
Moved and seconded. On the question. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
I move item 3, the 2024-25 Central High School District Proposed Budget, Proposition number 3. Be it resolved upon the recommendation of the Superintendent of Schools, the Board of Education hereby authorizes the placement of the following voter proposition at the annual budget vote and election on May 21st, 2024, and directs the district clerk to forward to the district clerks of Valley Stream Union Free School District 13, Valley Stream Union Free School District 24, and Valley Stream Union Free School District 30 to place said proposition in the annual notice of said vote and election. Shall the proposed budget of expenditures of Valley Stream Central High School District, Nassau County, New York, for the year 2024-2025 be approved in the amount of $161,364,443, and that the sum be raised through the levy upon the taxable property in the Valley Stream Central High School District after first deducting the monies from state aid and other sources as provided by law.
Second.
Moved and seconded on the question. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
I move item number 4, the Central High School District Voter Proposition number 4. Be it resolved that the Board of Education hereby authorizes the placement of the following voter proposition at the annual budget vote and election on May 21st, 2024, and directs the district clerk to place said proposition in the annual notice of said vote and election. Shall the Board of Education be authorized to appropriate and expend the maximum amount of $2,550,000 as follows from fund balance for the purpose of completing capital improvements as follows. Renovate current district maintenance garage, creating a construction trades facility. All of the above to include labor, materials, equipment, apparatus, and incidental costs.
Second.
Moved and seconded on the question. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
I move number 5, the Central High School District Capital Voter Proposition, Proposition number 5. Be it resolved that the Board of Education hereby authorizes the placement of the following voter proposition at the annual budget vote and election on May 21st, 2024, and directs the district clerk to place said proposition in the annual notice of said vote and election. Shall the Board of Education be authorized to appropriate and expend the maximum amount of $1,156,000 from the Capital Reserve Fund for the purpose of completing capital improvements as follows. Gymnasium window and operating system replacements at Memorial Junior High School, North Junior Senior High School, and South Junior Senior High School.
Second.
Moved and seconded on the question. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
I move items 1 through 3 under Section G as a consent agenda. Although if I could, I would take back number 2.
Second.
Moved and seconded on the question.
I said
Now's your
what I
chance
said.
to grill her.
I
You
said
can
what I
take it
said.
back.
Thank you again.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Congratulations, Marianne.
Thank you.
Anything
And,
else?
sorry, that concludes the business committee. I'm tired of talking.
Thank you, Trustee Farrell. Policy Committee, Trustee Vicente.
Good evening, everyone. Good evening, Madam President. Policies for second reading and adoption. The board recommends I move non-discrimination and equal opportunity. Policy 100, policy 110, sexual harassment introduction. Policy 110.1, sexual harassment of new students, new. Policy 110.1R, sexual harassment of students, regulation, new. Policy 110.2, sexual harassment in the workplace, new. Policy 110.2E, sexual harassment in the workplace exhibit. Policy 115E, student bullying and harassment complaint form.
Second.
Moved and seconded on the question. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
I move item number 2, amendment and readoption of policies. Whereas the Valley Stream Union Free School District 13 policy number 2410, formulation, adoption, and amendment of the policy contains the Board of Education procedures for the adoption, change, and repeal of district policies. And whereas the Board of Education has determined that it is necessary to amend the policies described below. Now, therefore, be it resolved, the Board of Education hereby adopts the attached policy as listed in the motion.
Second.
Moved and seconded on the question. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
And that concludes the policy report, Madam President.
Thank you, Trustee Vicente. Facilities Committee, Vice President Cavallari.
Facilities Committee met today. We discussed some outlaying punch list items that need to be resolved still and ongoing. And we also had some discussion on proposition that's on the budget for security. We will also be getting a detailed, some confidential details to be in the near future to the board will be given.
Great, thank you very much. Let's keep
That
it
concludes
going.
the Facilities Committee.
And now we'll do Committee of the Whole.
Committee of the Whole, I move K 1 through 4 as a consent agenda.
Second.
Moved and seconded on the question. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Consent agenda carries.
That concludes the Committee of the Whole.
Thank you, Vice President Cavallari. Report of the Attorney, Mr. Shishko.
Thank you. Tonight I'll provide the district clerk with a report regarding an arbitration our office successfully defended a school district in. In that case, the school district had a provision in the collective bargaining agreement requiring the posting of vacant positions. A position became vacant, but then the district decided to change the title to a higher title to civil service. A person challenged saying they didn't post the vacant position, and the arbitrator ruled that because they had changed the position to a higher title, there was no obligation to do that, and dismissed the grievance and arbitration.
Thank you. High school report?
Yes. I have 3 items from the high school report. At Central High School, senior Saji Yassin was named a National Merit Finalist. The female athletes of the high school district were visited by Olympic gold medalist Samantha Arsenet Livingston, and she talked about the importance of mental health and taking care of oneself. Also, 2 Valley Stream South High School students and 2 art teachers had their works exhibited at the Firefly Gallery in Northport. The exhibition, titled Kindred Spirits, highlighted the bond that can forge between educators and students in art. Also, the Valley Stream swim team, both boys and girls, had a very successful first year. And as always, catch up on all the news on the Central High School District website. And that concludes the high school report.
Thank you. Any old business before the board? Any new business before the board? New business?
Yes, new business. Kind of wanted to go over the board goals, being that we have a new assistant superintendent of curriculum and our interim one doing a great job there. I thought it was a good time to revisit the board goals and work on, maybe setting up some measurable goals to help give clarity to the superintendents and direction, chance to put our input into it. Mine is going to be more score related. Other board members may have some of their own. So I'm asking for the will of the board to revisit and review board goals.
Okay. Anybody want to add to that? Okay.
I think that Trustee Grosso's suggestion is good. We have not looked at those kind of goals in quite some time, and I think that it would be good to start some preliminary conversations about that, again, in terms of the new assistant superintendent coming on, to give both the administration and some more direction as to what the board is looking for. So I would support working with the board to take a look at what their priorities are.
Any other comments?
Are we doing this in a retreat session?
Yeah, I think that's the best forum.
Madam President, may
Yes.
I, if, when we do these goals, can we also, well, in the future, if it's the will of the board, can we do a board evaluation on ourselves as well? We haven't done that in years.
I actually think that's part and parcel with the goals session, but what I'll do is I will reach out and I will see what kind of retreats are available for these types of scenarios, and maybe we can let you guys know which ones are available, and we can look at the synopsises and see which one we think fits our needs the best. Does that sound like a good plan?
Just not Cancun. Just not Cancun for the retreat.
I can't promise location. Okay, great, excellent idea, thank you very much. Any other new business? Oh, can I get a consensus if you guys will let me do that little bit of research? Trustee Farrell?
Yes.
Trustee Vicente?
Yes.
Trustee Benelli?
Yes.
Trustee Capozio?
Yes.
Vice President Cavallari?
Yes.
Trustee Grosso?
Yes.
I'm sorry, I went out of order again. And myself, I'm a yes, so I will do that and get back to everybody, and we'll get something on the books. I'll get availability once we pick what we think will fit us best. All right, recognition of visitors. I would like to welcome Amanda Bohm to the microphone to discuss Crossroads Farm. Thank you for coming tonight. Is it on?
Button on the top.
Hi, can you hear me? Good evening, Dr. LaRocca and board members. Thank you for giving me the chance to speak. My name is Amanda Bohm. I'm a parent of 2 children at the Laurel Road School. I don't do well with public speaking, so I'm just going to read. I'm here to question the agreement our district has with Crossroad Farms. In January, the Committee of the Whole consent approved $9,000 to pay to Crossroads for educational resources, training materials, and instructions. I was hoping to have clarification on what exactly is this educational resource, training materials, and instructions. The amount that is being paid seems like a large amount for a very small percentage of our student body to participate in. I know that the 4th grade classes have a field trip there, as my daughter did 2 years ago, but from her feedback, as well as other parents and students over the last 2 years, this is not a trip that they enjoy necessarily. They just enjoy that it's a field trip and they get out of school. Now with the budget for next year upon us, and with residents in our district always concerned about possible increases in taxes and where the money is being spent and benefits that the students are getting at school, I wonder if we can enhance the deal we have with Crossroads, where our students and schools get, as the saying goes, more bang for our buck. Instead of our students going to their location, is there a way that they can come to our schools and help create school gardens or raise planter beds that can be assigned to either each class or by grade? They could help each school create an outdoor learning space for science lessons, art lessons, STEM lessons, geography, geology, everything. They can help. We can utilize it as an after-school club possibly, depending on if the budgets are approved. It also will help teach students a basic life skill of planning and growing food. There are many possibilities in which Crossroads can give an educational resource to the majority of our students than what it is currently. Dr. LaRocca, in your presentation, you had 2 sections where this can be applied. One being in the budget development goals, where you want to continue to improve facilities and grounds. And 2, in what's new for the 24-25 budget, student clubs and assemblies expansion. That's all I have. So,
Thank you. I'm going to ask you to come up and write down your contact information.
Yeah.
So that we can go over.
Okay.
Well, I'll have the superintendent look into this and let you know exactly what our agreement is and where we can make maybe some improvements or what else is available.
Okay. Do you want to do it now or after?
Come on over. I'm going to wrap it up. Do you mind if I wrap it up while you do this?
No, that's fine.
Okay. Because you are the end of our meeting. You did a great job speaking. I want to thank everybody for coming. I'm going to ask for a motion to go back into executive session for personnel matters.
I make a motion to go into exec session for personal matters with the council.
Yes. I have a motion on the floor.
Second.
Moved and seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, we'll be back in the boardroom for executive. Thanks everyone for coming this evening. Welcome Dr. Radis. And I would like to introduce myself to Jim because I'm not my human person yet.